Hello my friends, this is the second time I try to tape this part of my story. It deals with the reptilians and the greys and the negative entities, and this is the third time I'm doing it now, so I had 2 attempts, and as soon as I get to this part of the story I have felt extremely tired, like complete loss of energy, like I have to go to sleep basically. I know that in the spring here of this year, when they were trying to possess me, when I had that demonic attack, I know that the Greys and Dracos and reptilians, they can blank your memory, so suddenly you can't remember things. If there are things that they don't want you to speak about, they can blank it. I didn't have that, but it's obviously that they don't want me to speak about this, and this night I had a lot of visions from them that my friends, my Lyra family, couldn't completely block out. So just so you understand that if I get tired or if I lose my flow or tempo or something, it could be that, because this is my third time now, so I'm gonna tell it, and if it doesn't come 100% because of that, then may it be so, because I need to say this. So let's return to my story. So I had accepted to meet the galactics, and I didn't understand that these were the Greys. So we had agreed on 12 o'clock, noon, and there were also a woman that came in when I spoke with Gar just after him, and she had a very, very negative tone on her voice, and she sounded pretty evil. So I knew that this wasn't perfect, but on the other hand, I also had good conversations, good communication, telepathic communications, mixed with the negative one, because usually I had a good one and then it was intercepted, and the negative entities came in. So, and I wasn't discouraged, because all of these things had happened to me, and I really wanted to know, because everything was new to me, and realizing that actually UFOs exist, actually galactics exist, and it's something real, something tangible. It's not science fiction or stories. So I just wanted to know. I was a 3D human that wanted to have 3D physical evidence of something that is much more advanced than that. So I just wanted to basically shake hands with them, see them in the eyes, and not only have them in my visions and those few times I had seen their vessels or ships. So I wasn't discouraged, and that was not very wise of me. And me accepting this leads to me losing the magician. And the magician, I have understood now, she was sent here to protect me against the black magic of the satanic, Luciferian dark forces, because they use this kind of magic on people that doesn't conform with their system. And had I had her around me, she could have protected me against that. And there are many interesting things that they did to me during these 4 weeks, this springs, that I will explain later on. But now back to the story. I accepted the message from Gar to see him at noon, and I went there to the place that I call Home of the Gods, and it was the 6th of August, according to my notes, and it was sunny, but there were many fair weather cumulus clouds. And it was a very special day, because there were several clouds in the sky outside my home, and also when I went to the place that I call Home of the Gods, that there were perfect holes. And a fair weather cumulus is a cloud that is not it has a very white color, and it doesn't produce rain, and it's that beautiful summer cloud that we all love. And they were full of them that had a perfect hole in them. And I will get to that a little bit later in the story, why that is interesting. So I sat there on the cliff at the Home of the Gods. I sat there for 2 hours, from 12 to 2 p.m. And I was just about to go home, and I was very disappointed because I had so many conflicting messages since I started to have these telepathic messages, and so many trickeries and so many promises. So I was thinking like, well, will I ever have like real tangible evidence, more than that I have seen the ships? I know they exist, but will I shake hands with them? Will I see them face to face? And because in this time I didn't have those visions I have now. Now I have real live visions where I interact and see them. So it's like you are getting to the level of you're seeing them for real. It's not there yet, but it's very close. And if you listen to my video when I describe psychic abilities, you can understand what kind of visions I talk about. So I was about to go home. It was about 2 p.m. and suddenly there were some fair weather cumulus going from the south to the north, and the sun was pretty high in the sky still, and the clouds were going over the water. If you remember that picture I have from the Home of the Gods with the world tree that I call it, you can see the waterway there. So the clouds were going over the waterway, along the waterway, and I was feeling something with the energy because, as I said, there were strange clouds that day that I haven't seen since, and not before. And I was seeing those 3 clouds. So I just looked at them, and I was preparing to go home. And then suddenly, the whole horizon over the water with the clouds just sank. I don't know, maybe 200 foot. It's very hard to appreciate how much they sank, but they sank considerably in the sky. Like it was like there was like some force that just pushed the horizon down 100-200 foot like an instant. And it was that glitch feeling that I have had another time too. And it's like if someone flips a switch and it glitch, and there is a small change in reality, and it was like a microsecond of blackness, and something have changed, and it was like that glitch, and then suddenly I was sort of in another place, but in the same place. So the horizon just went down with this pressure wave, like boom, no sound or nothing, but the feeling of the energy and everything was like boom, and then horizon was down, and suddenly the clouds turned 90 degrees and started to come along the ridge up to the mountain, and they were expanding. If you have seen thunderclouds, when they are especially when you have a hurricane or something like that, they can just expand like almost like an explosion with that gas cloud, So they were expanding like that gas cloud, and there were 3 clouds, 2 behind and 1 in front, those fair weather cumulus, and they were just expanding and increasing in speed and change direction 90 degrees and coming along the ridge of the mountain straight to where I was sitting. And the clouds were now at a very low level, so they were feeling like they were almost coming at my level, where I was sitting on the top of the mountain, of the cliff. And the front cloud was getting really dark, going almost black, and I just stared at it, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I was just about to just jump up and run, because this was so threatening, because my whole vision, my field of vision was starting to get filled with this cloud just approaching me with an increasing speed. And it wasn't going like with the wind, it was going like pretty fast and just expanding and just getting more and more ominous and more black. And just as I was about to jump up and run, it said again, click. And it was that instant of something like a microsecond of blackness maybe, or something like click, click, glitch. And then suddenly the clouds were back over the waterway, like nothing had happened, and they were now again at the same level, like they had been from the beginning. And I was thinking, what was that? What was that? And then I looked straight up over my head, and over my head I had a beautiful fair weather cumulus on a very low altitude. It was so low, so it felt like if I stood up, because I was sitting down, if I stood up, I would be able to touch it. Of course I couldn't, but that just for you to understand that's how low it perceived to be. Of course I couldn't touch it, but anyway, it was very, very low. And when I looked up, I saw straight over my head a perfect hole, and the hole was really like perfectly round. It wasn't oval or nothing, and it was a thick fair weather cumulus, and straight to it I saw the sky just over my head, a beautiful hole straight over my head. And I also noticed when I got home that evening that there were many strange clouds, and many clouds with a straight perfect hole in them. And you can have clouds that merge together, 2 or 3 of them, and then they are pulled apart because of how the wind moves and so on. So you can get holes. But for you to have a perfect hole, that's more unusual. And for you to have maybe 4 or 5 clouds in a close area, and then this continued to like 7 in the evening, 8 in the evening. It was summer, and in the Nordic countries we have sunlight all the way to sometimes even to in midsummer to 12 o'clock in the night. So this cloud formation continued, and so something was going on. And later on I started to understand that this kind of clouds where you have a hole in them are quite usual when there have been UFO sightings. But in this time I didn't really know a lot about other contactee stories and such things. But I have later on read about it, and there are many people that have reported these holes in clouds when there have been a UFO incident. So the grays, which I didn't understand were the grays in the beginning. I thought there were many different galactic entities, but it was the grays and the reptilians all the time, just pretending to be different things to trick me. So when they talked to me many times, they always explained that they always said that they can't get through for now. It will be some time before they can get through. We need to squeeze ourselves through. We have to squash the energies. We have to squeeze the energies. We have to squash the energies. And I have been thinking since I saw the horizon being, because it was like a pressure that was put on the horizon and it was just pushed down. So I have been thinking that probably that's what they speak about, that they probably take the dimensions and they squeeze them together so they become really close. And when the dimensions are squeezed together, when they're just wall to wall, so to speak, they come through. I don't know if that is how it works, but that's my conclusion with the communication I've gotten and what I saw there on the home of the gods. from this point, I didn't think nothing happened, but something happened there on that cliff. And I lost the magician, and I brought something home with me. And what I brought home with me appeared to me that evening. And that thing I brought home with me said that it had saved me from the negative entities. And it also said that the magician wasn't powerful enough to stand against these dark forces that came through at this place, home of the gods, when I was there. And I was left alone from the negative dark forces and their human counterparts. I don't want to repeat the name for them too much here on this medium, but you know who I talk about. So for 6 months, because I'm doing an airline transport pilot license, for 6 months I could study like I haven't been able to study for many years. I was completely well. I could sleep good. I could do everything. So I believe that this entity that came with me was my friend. Okay? And I want to talk about how this entity work and how they speak, and I'm going to go into that here. So that evening I got a presence in my home, and this presence was the same strong presence I had had with the magician. So this is the second time that I experienced a presence, because when you have psychic abilities you can have communication, but you usually have communication and whatever you're communicating with, you are not in the same room and space as you are. So for the second time I had something in the same room and space as me, and it presented itself as REA for realization. And I asked him who he was, and he said, "We are your soldiers of light in this war of the worlds." And he said that we are your light soldiers, and we come so far away that you cannot imagine it. And we are here because you asked us for help. So you see here how they are tricking me. They have removed the magician. They present themselves as my savior that saved me from whatever happened on the mountain. They leave me alone for 6 months. I have no communication from my Lyra family after this, because they have full control over all communication. The only communication I have after this, and this is August 6 in 21. So for 6 months from this point, I'm left alone, very little communication, but the only communication I have is from negative entities. So I'm going to read something about REA that I have written down what he said to me at the time. I'm going to read, and I have to tell you something. My focus now is to get my experience out so it can help others. That also means that I cannot go deeply into every aspect of what I'm saying. So I'm focusing mainly on getting the story out, the story of what has happened, my experience. So if I go too much into detail, we will lose the story. So I will briefly go into detail sometimes, but these parts now that I discuss, I will discuss briefly how these entities, these negative entities, demons or reptilians, how they speak, and what they don't like to say. And when they use these words, they use them in certain circumstances. I will go into that briefly, but just so you understand, there are many layers to everything. And when you are trying to explain something, it becomes very square when something is dynamic. So you will have a square understanding of what I'm saying, but the full dynamic understanding, it will come from a combination of you listening to what happened to me and we going deeper into certain areas. And I'm going to talk about something that many of you that have woken up to the more layers that there are to waking up to, that understand that there is more than the earthly and the 3D aspect of things. You are searching like I was searching, and you can see all the mistakes I have made, so you can understand that I'm not a better person than you or anything like that. So you can understand that when I say this, it comes from my heart, and my intention is not to hurt you, and it is not to make you have disbelief in yourself or your ability. You are the creation of God, and you are the most powerful thing that exists on this planet, and nothing can change that. And you are your own king, you are your own ruler, and you are the one that decides your future. There is no one that you should follow or listen to more than yourself. You always remember that. So when I tell you this is my experience. You will have to take it as my experience. And as I told you, I cannot give you the full dynamic explanation. I will give you the square one, because we are trying to do my story here, so I can explain it. So if you have any questions about this, please write the questions on my Telegram chat group, where I can answer you more fully. On this medium, I cannot answer you fully. So on this medium that you are listening to now, I really appreciate if you make comments and all of that, because as I said previously, I think that's how this algorithms works, and we need to spread the message. But we cannot talk about real things in the comment section on this medium. That's why I have Telegram. At least that's more open to do that. So if you have anything that you want to talk about, you ask me there. I will answer as soon as I can. And also remember, don't take any major decisions in your life after hearing anything I'm saying now, especially if I'm reading something from the negative entities. I don't want to scare you, but you also have to, because most of you will not have this experience that I have, so you are already not on this soul mission to do what I'm doing, and you have another soul mission and another purpose. So that's the first thing. But we are in a war, okay? Both in the physical and in the metaphysical. And when you listen to all these New Age people that talk about how the timelines are right and how we have won and how everything is fixed, well, the thing is like this. If we are complacent, it doesn't matter how much energy is sent to this planet, how much thing the galactics and the spirit world do to make this happen. Because we need to act. And they always remind me, and this is the message for you and for everyone, don't wait for anyone, because we are the force. Don't wait for anyone to save you, because you and every single one of us are the force. And every little single thing we do, me telling this story, you being able to discern and making your senses more attuned to what is true and what is false, all those small things are the force. So it doesn't mean that you have to go into battle or do something. It just means that everything you do, you have to get better at discerning what is false and true, and find your way to contribute how we move forward into the new, because we are moving into a new world. And all the dark forces, they can just try to think that they have any chance. They have no chance. We're moving in the new world, and the only thing we need to do is to be attentive and do our part, because we are the force. So I just wanted to say that, and I'm gonna read some parts that this REA said to me. And you have to understand that this REA, he's the one that tricked me this spring, and I saw him finally in the spring when they attached to my aura, and it was attached to me for 4 weeks, and I had this hand on my shoulder, and I had a contract with a bloody pen, and I was shown a contract and a bloody pen for days, and I haven't figured out if REA was solely a demon or if he was a reptilian, because the hand I got on my shoulder when they attached to my aura, it was a reptilian hand with 4 fingers, where the pointy finger and the middle finger were like sort of grown together for the two knuckles. So it wasn't split all the way to the palm like a human hand, only the pinky finger of the forehand and the thumb. And they had lizard skin everywhere, and he had yellow eyes, and those eyes like a snake have, with that line in the middle of the pupil. So I haven't figured out if it was a pure astral demon or if it was a reptilian. I'm leaning at that it was a reptilian because he had lizard skin, but he also looked like those that you see on the Gothic churches, those small devils that sits on every corner on the Gothic churches, especially in France. It looks exactly like that, with the small wings on the back and so on. So I'm not sure yet. But anyway, I'm going to read what he says, and he referred to himself as a ghost. We should have warned me, and I will discuss different things they like to do when they speak and so on. This is not dangerous to listen to or anything. It's just an example of how they speak. There is no energies in this in any way, and I will not convey anything in such a way, so you don't need to be worried about that. But I will read what it said, and then I will discuss certain aspect of infiltration in the New Age community and the world we're waking up to, and how this is everywhere in every layer. This negative entity had just told me that 5,000 light soldiers had been sent to Earth and was going to help people to wake up. So you have to understand, I was swallowing all of this, with the clothes and everything on, So it's an easy mistake to make, because we all wanted people to understand what is going on and the perils we are in. But some people will never wake up. So he just told me that 5,000 light soldiers were sent to Earth. And this is from my notes that I wrote down. I had a vision about a very bad negative galactic that was very threatening for 2 days. And I had a discussion with REA about that. And this is what I wrote. And the vision was a brown-colored man with a shaved head and a large black mustache that had a third eye in his forehead. The third eye was yellow, red and yellow, and was shining like fire. It was like shining in the middle of his head, and it had an eyelid. And he was very dark, and his face were really aggressive. And after that, I started to have a lot of low negative telepathic communication from the astral world. So I talked to REA about this, and REA said that he has interrupted them. So he came and saved me again lying, setting me up so they can possess me. So REA came in and interrupted them, and REA told me that the man I saw was a low-frequency galactic who was very old and was very far away from our galaxy, and they are called TAL, T-A-L. And then I asked, what does this galactic want with me? Why does he want to get me? And who are the galactics I have talked to before you appeared? And REA answers, the long ones want you well, and the long ones are the tall grays. So the long ones want you well. You are linked with them. We can tell you what we get and what we want, but you don't understand how the world works. And this is very usual for the negative entities to point out that you're small, you're insignificant, your consciousness does not comprehend stuff that they do. A higher being that comes with love and from the higher realms, they never point out what you don't know. That's just something to remember. We know already where you're going, but so this is also something. We already know where you're going. This is also something that the higher being would never say, because we have free will, and we have many things, even though we have a soul mission. So this is typical the dark forces. And if you think about corporations and the way how you speak in corporation, it's all about effectivity and nothing about the soul and the emotion of the human, you know. So it's sort of the same traits. We know already where you're going, but if we tell you something, it can affect and change you. A life told is a life ruined. What we can say this anyway, I'm a ghost. And you know, when he said I'm a ghost, I like in Swedish he used the word, because this REA spoke in Swedish to me. When I have telepathic contact, I usually speak English, but telepathic contact is not connected to any language, since it's telepathy, it's feelings. So you don't need to have a certain language. You can communicate in any language. And that's why certain people can communicate with animals and so on, because you can feel them. And the feeling can turn, when in the right way, in the right tune, it becomes words, basically. So I really backed here, and I was thinking like, okay, but you know, I told you that I have swallowed everything. 5,000 light soldiers were sent to Earth, and he talked about divinity and the world of the worlds, and I was thinking, wow, this is what we need. We need help, you know, we have to fix this. So I passed. I let it pass, okay? And he continues. We come from much farther away than you can understand. We are God's soldiers, and you are our son. Here again, when they tried to possess me, and here is where I will go into that more square explanation, because I don't have time to go into all the details here. But in many New Age channelings, people repeat this all the time. And I cannot say the third thing, because that is the worst thing you can ever say. So I will only repeat the first things, and you can fill in your mind. You understand what I'm going to say. So they say that since we are from God, and since we are part of God, we are Him. You understand? And that is the worst thing you can say spiritually. We are not God in no shape, way, or form. We are of Him. We are part of it. We are part of Him. But none of us are on that comprehensional level. And that is the biggest spiritual mistake you can make. And the negative entities always want you to say that. They want you to say that you are Him. Because when you do that, then you disconnect from everything. And that's the only time that the negative entities, the Dracos, the reptilians, the demons, that's the only time they want to speak about God and say the word God. They want to say the word God when you say that you are Him. Or they like to speak about singularity. They love to say that. Because when they do an entity possession, they want to say that this is your higher self, or some divine angel that is part of you, that now you're gonna join finally, you know. So because when you say yes to that, you accept the foreign entity in you, and then it's easy for them. Otherwise, they have to work more with magic and stuff to get it happening, you know. So under no circumstances do you refer yourself as the creator of all things. Under no circumstances do you do that, because then you disconnect from everything. And that's the only time that the negative entities will use the word God. They will use divine, they will use light, and all of the things that we talk about in the New Age movement. And the New Age movement, according to my understanding thus far, has been started in the 1930s and is part of a new world religion that the dark entities have introduced in the 20s and the 30s. And the plan is always like this, that they join a movement and they twist the movement. So the New Age movement and the awakening and the ascension, all of this is real, and we are going for a new earth. And the dark forces understand that this is going to happen. So their only way to change this is to adapt to this new movement, but change it a little bit. That's like when you see a cross, they invert the cross. And I have also been thinking, I don't know if I say this name right, but I never followed the series, that Star Trek series. Because now when I have contact with my Lyran family, I can see that many things are a bit like in Star Trek. And the logo that they have on their left chest, that logo is sort of the Star Trek logo if you turn it around. So it has been inverted in the TV series, but if you turn it around and you remove all the middle parts, and then it's sort of the same like in Star Trek. So it's just like when you take the cross, and the satanic Luciferian dark forces have turned the cross upside down. So my thinking is to have turned the logo upside down, because they understand these forces and they know about the galactic forces that are here, you know. So I was just thinking, because I heard stories about this Roddenberry, that maybe he had some pre-knowledge before he made this TV series. I don't know. But there are some similarities, just to say that. So I will continue. So he talks about how far away they are, and we are God's light soldiers and you are our son. And during this time I had message from astral beings, and the astral beings were always repeating to me, you're destroying our world. So I just made a note here, because it was fitting in this discussion that REA had. And REA continues that the galactic that was here, he cannot reach you anymore. And then he talks about the magician and how she couldn't handle what happened there on that home of the gods. So this is why I don't use light brothers, light soldiers, divine light. Okay, you have to understand something, that the light is divine, you know, and all of those things. But since my experience and my understanding is they hate when we say God, and we are in a war, I will use God every chance I can, because I know that this is the worst word for them. Because they have put a lot of energy into light soldiers and light brothers and light family and family of light and so on, and the Galactic Federation of Light and all of that light, and all of the lies in all of this information. So we will all be tricked and not wake up in the right way. But you have to understand something here too. So I want to say that we will always go where we are intended to go. It will just take longer, and we will lose more of us on the way. But we will reach there. They can trick us how much they want, and we will fall for their trickery. But in the end, how much they trick us, we will reach there. So you will not need to be afraid that you will not reach the destination where we are going. But if we already have some kind of navigation, how they speak and how they think, we can judge the information better. And this is a prime example. But this example can also be very triggering for someone that is extremely into these different channelers and different things. So I told you, your truth is the best truth. I'm just sharing my experience here. I know what I'm speaking about, but I don't want to trigger you or make you feel bad, you know. So anyway, this is why I always talk about God and not in terms of light. And we have to remember that the dark forces has been involved in creating the New Age movement since probably the 1930s. And the satanic Luciferian cabal refer to Satan as the one who illuminates by light and giving knowledge. And as you will see from the communication that I read here, everything they speak about refers to light, light soldier, source of light, divine light, and so on. But as I told you, they don't like to say God. So that's why I don't say light brothers, as that is what the Satanists see themselves as and call each other. You have to understand that the satanic Luciferian dark forces, I don't want to use the other word, they see Lucifer as the God of light, the one who illuminates. And they see themselves as brothers of light. So we can have a discussion and say, yes, but we can take back the word from them because they have stolen the word, because light is from God. We can have that discussion, and it's a true discussion. However, I already know they hate when you use God. That word is the word that scares them the most. And we are not talking about the dogmatic religious God. We are talking about the true God here. A God in all religions, in all places, the creator of all things, for every single one of us. So we are talking about God. So that's why I don't use the terms as I told you. And so one should ask oneself why the New Age community use this term. Is it a coincidence? And as I told you, I don't think so. And I think we should use God. After all, isn't it God we are referring to in the first place? And this is just an infiltration, an example of how infiltrated everything in our society is in different levels. And how when we are going to the new earth, we have to learn to discern between truth and fiction. And you have to understand something. When we wake up, we will not be able to lean on our own truth straight away, because everything in our life is based on truth coming from someone else. Truth coming from science, truth coming from education. And for the really poor bastards, those organizations on you know that thing, that medium that everyone is, that have that F on it with the blue background, where you say something and there is those experts that know that you're not telling the truth. You know, so some people are already on that level. They have even stopped looking for the truth. But for us that still at least are part of the how it used to function here, we at least find other sources. But when we go into this new world, there will be no sources. The dark forces will have sources that are hidden from us, and they have knowledge that are hidden from us. So when we start to find our truth, we will have to go within, and we have to feel if we resonate with this. And the more collected truth we get, the more experience we get in our awakening and in our journey, we will be able to discern what is true and false. And we cannot reach the new earth before we are efficient enough to discern what is false and what is true. That is our greatest mission, and is the greatest victory against the dark forces. Because when they no longer can trick us by infiltrating and saying things that are not true, mixed with truth, then there is nothing that can stop us. So if there is something I have to say, is that you have to find within yourself everything you listen, even this message that I have, because as I said, this is my subjective consciousness, and one person have a set of experiences and understandings, and from this set of experiences and understanding, I'm interpret what is happening around me. And there might be people that have other experiences that can fulfill my interpretation. And there will come a point when you start to get really good at finding the truth, and you will resonate with it. And after a while you will start to see that you will not fall for everything. You will only fall for certain things. And after a while you will start to trust only yourself. And when you reach that point when you only trust yourself and your own truth, and you accept that you cannot know everything because you cannot get the information, because this information is not publicly available. This is the information you have to search for yourself, or this is the information that you have to start to put things together so you understand how they work. Then we are ready to ascend. Then we are ready for the new world, because then we cannot be tricked anymore, because this duality has tricked us. This duality have made us being disconnected from the spirit world, from our galactic family, from our space brothers and space family. So they can trick us, and they can make us feel weak and insignificant and without knowledge. But we carry the greatest knowledge there is. We carry the knowledge that comes from God, because we are part of God, and we shall never forget that. I'll end here for this time. Next time we will deal with the demonic possession that happened to me this spring of 22, and it was a very, very dark experience, and I fought for my life for 4 weeks, and it ended with me needing help from my Lyran family, and they breaking the protocol by revealing themselves. And it was a very dark experience, and I learned a lot how the fourth dimension works and which entities are in this dimension. And it happened just here in my home, so I saw all the orbs and all the entities from the fourth dimension during these 4 weeks. But it was a very, very hard experience, and my aura was damaged from having this reptilian or demonic hand. I'm leaning that it was a reptilian, showing me the contract and the bloody pen. So I will take a break before I go into that story. I hope you understand that, because I need to have the energy to tell it, and it's very advanced. And I also feel that I went very fast through everything now, the spiritual side and now the galactic side that we went through, because I wanted to tell my story, and I have a limited amount of time. I have my private matters that I have to do. This is just something I want to give to the world, to humanity. So the most important thing with my message thus far is that you understand that the galactic forces, the future humans, they are not disconnected from the spiritual world. The spiritual and the galactic forces work together, as does the satanic Luciferian dark forces on Earth and the fourth dimensional negative entities. They work together, and these two groups are in a war. And there are people that, like me, comes from the future, that are future humans, that already ascended, that have come back here to fight in this war. And I know that many people just think that, and for some people that's your mission, that only light and prayers and good thoughts and high frequencies will win this war. But even if it's a war in the metaphysical, there is a war in the physical. And everyone that will wake up and understand that you are from the future here to fight against this, you will also wake up and understand that we are in a war. It's a real war. And that's why it's very hard to give this message, because people don't understand that we're in a war. They believe that if we just have good thoughts and high frequencies, and then the universe and God will solve everything for us. They will send all the energies, they will put everything in place. But if we as a humankind don't take responsibility for our actions and act, no matter how much energies are sent here from the galactic forces and from God and from all the angels, will change anything. Because we need to act, and we need to be in action for all the energies to go in their places and fulfill their functions. If we are inactive and complacent, we will just have a lot of energies here, and the dark forces will have a problem doing what they will do, and it will take longer time for them, but they can still continue their journey. It is only when we rise up and say no as a human race and take responsibility for what has happened and transpired here on this planet that we will go on to this new earth. So I will not go further into this. The video is quite long. Just know something, that I might take some periods off because I'm doing a really hard education. I will try to do videos as much as I can, and I think they will come regularly. Just remember, I'm doing this because I have a message for humanity. I'm not doing this for personal gain. So it means that I have to take care of my other private matters, though I rather honestly would want to do this, because connecting with you like this have really it has really been really beneficial for me, because I was alone, as I said in a previous message, but I'm not alone anymore. And my hope is that more of us find each other, more of us that understand what is really going on here, not the one that are listening to all the fairy tales and all the, flowers and rainbows and the pink unicorns or whatever it might be. Us that understand that this is life and death. This is important. This is not a game. This is not a hologram. This is important for God. It's important for everyone. It's real as real can be. Never forget that. So, if there is any message from my Lyran family that are here protecting us together with other galactic races in starfleets all over the world, and they are close now. I just had a message a couple of days that they are really, really close, and they are basically more or less in our airspace. They are not in the in space anymore. They are in our airspace, close to Earth, because the dark forces are planning many evil things now. So, and I just want to say this: they never forced me to go out with this message. They never asked me. This is something I was meant to do before I came to this planet, to this existence, before I came to my past, because I am now in my past. I was before with them on the ships in the future. And this can be a hard concept for some people to understand yet, but when you start to wake up further along, there will be many, many, many people like me here. Many people. I'm not the only one. So it has been my decision solely to convey any public message that I'm getting from my Lyran contact. I know that they are very, very happy with the message that I've gone out public with, and they have been waiting for that. And I understand that has been the plan all the time, but because of the soul mission and the protocols and how everything works, I have to find this out myself. And that's when you ask yourself, why does nothing happen, and so on and so on. Why is nothing happening? It happens when it's supposed to happen. And when you take certain steps in your life, then certain things will open. So I just want to tell you quickly here that they are watching this, they are communicating with me, they are very, very happy that this true message reach humanity, and how the galactic contact works, and that they are here, and that we are protected. The dark human forces, they can plan any war they want, any famine they want. It will be stopped from this point. That is my understanding from the messages I have gotten lately. And we are very close now to something happening. So just know that they are listening to us. They are very happy that this message is reaching us. And I'm very happy I have the ability and the possibility to tell you this, and that I took this step. So without going any further, because this video is getting long, I really appreciate that you're here, and I hope you will wake up and see things because of my message, and you will also get reconnected. So be strong, have faith, and remember, we are in actual war. Don't forget that. Every decision you make has importance. And we are many, and we got this. With that being said, another time.